How is everybody on this lovely Sunday? What are you over there? What's on your head? It's a teapot. What are you? That's clever. You guys are, everyone's always so clever with their cosplay. Hi. I did a panel yesterday with a bunch of my supernatural peeps. How do these run?
Well, we like to make sure that it belongs to you, the panel,
Okay.
and it belongs to them. So you can talk about anything that you'd like to talk about, any experiences, and then we can bring them up to the mic and have as much Q&A as you want to do.
I'm all for Q&A. What do you guys want to hear about? I don't want to talk without knowing what it is you want to know.
Does anybody have any questions?
It's going to be a short panel.
I was wondering when your big theater play was before you became into the Hollywood area.
What my big what was?
Your biggest theater play before you became into
My biggest theater play. Biggest in what sense? Like my favorite or like the...
when a producer saw you and like, hey, we've got something for you to try.
Oh, that's never happened for me. I always just audition. Do you mean like what? Get more specific. Do you...
Like in the Supernaturals, like how did someone find you? How did a producer come?
They found me because I went and I auditioned. So even when you are fortunate enough to get to work consistently as an actor, you spend most of your time auditioning for work that you don't get. So I would say I get out of every 100 auditions, I land one part. Yeah. So Supernatural was just another audition that I got where I have agents and they said that the show was looking for a new character and they were very, very, very few details were given about who this character was. And I had fake scenes. You often get scenes that don't have characters that are in the show, but I could kind of tell it was Sam and Dean. And I knew that they said that she was some sort of primordial being, basically who had a bone to pick. And that was about it. And it was sometimes you're in a room and it's just you and a casting director and a camera. Sometimes you're in there with different executives from the show. And there were some of the producers from the show, I remember. But I remember I was very distracted by an injury that I had at the time because I surf and I had really like twisted my knee surfing. And I was just trying not to limp because I knew that she was supposed to be a seductive character. And I figured, I'm sure you could be seductive with a limp too, but I was trying not to limp. So I was distracted by that, which was maybe a good thing because I think I wasn't as nervous about the audition itself. But that was how Supernatural came to be. Yeah. Well, hello there, friend. How are you doing today?
Good.
Good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
She's a little nervous, so I'm going to ask her question.
Okay.
She wanted to know if you could be in any of the Star Wars movies, which one would you pick, and what character would you want to be?
Oh my golly gracious, so many. I think that I would want to be in any of the 3 original ones, but we'll say Return of the Jedi. And I want to be Han Solo because he gets away with everything.
That would be great, right?
He's so cool. Who would you want to be, and which movie would you want to be in?
I actually don't know.
Well, what does your mom think?
Would you want to be Rey? You like Rey?
Oh, you would be such a good Rey.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I like that. All right. I'll
Thank
see you. I'll see you there. I'll see you on set.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, what's your name?
Becky,
Hi, Becky.
question. Your script towards the end where Chuck absorbs you, were you upset with that type of ending? Or-
Yes.
Why didn't they give you something more glorious?
You're asking me?
Yeah. Didn't you have a say in it?
No.
WTF? You're the star.
Look, I was thrilled. I feel like I'm being so loud. I feel like I don't really even need the microphone. I was thrilled to even be asked back for the last season, you know, because this show had so many incredible characters, and they
Right.
could have brought so many people back. And I know there were more people they wanted to bring back, and then COVID happened, so that couldn't happen. But I was thrilled to be back at all for the ending of the show. And yes, I was definitely disappointed in just getting absorbed into Chuck.
I thought that was
also
dumb.
felt though like I think it could have worked, and I had a lot of fun imagining what it would be like if when Chuck walked out of that room at the end. I thought that it should be like half Chuck and half Amara.
Yeah.
And then I thought that Rob should have to like do the whole rest of the show as like Chuck Mara.
Yeah, that would be great.
I think that could have been
Or
very
even
interesting.
the internal fight within you when he's like wiping all the people out and wiping all the planets out.
Yeah.
You're fighting to put them back
Yeah.
in the same body.
Sure. I think so. I mean, talk
mean,
about
what
an inner dilemma.
They should have contacted us.
I think you're right. I think you're right about that. Hello. You're a little taller than that is.
I know I'm a little tall. Victoria, I just wanted to
Victoria.
ask, do you still support the Surfrider charity, or is there any other charities that you have supported lately?
I believe in everything that Surfrider does. I used to do a lot more work actively for Surfrider. For those of you who don't know, Surfrider is an environmental nonprofit that was started by a bunch of surfers, and that was why I got into it, is because being out in the ocean and seeing all the stuff floating around and then learning more about the sources of that got me very involved with that. And I used to work on a program for them around ocean-friendly restaurants and helping restaurants implement environmentally friendly practices, which that's sort of my work decreased and that program shrank during COVID because restaurants were struggling and for a long time people weren't eating out, and then it was hard to sort of, they were much more focused on trying to keep the business afloat than Surfrider, than dealing with making a lot of changes in the way they ran things. But these days, I primarily do fundraising for Voices Against Cancer, and that's a group that I got involved with a few years ago when I did their annual PopCon. And it is an incredible group of people who they raise funding for pediatric cancer research, but they also have created such an incredible support community for families of kids who are going through cancer treatment. And they provide monetary support, but also emotional support, because as any of you know who have had to deal with a family member or friend going through cancer, there's a lot that goes with that besides just the money that you need for treatment. And that one is really near and dear to me because I lost my dad to cancer 3 years ago. So getting to help with that in any way is such a joy for me. But it's also really surprising that I didn't expect this from it, because I do fundraisers at most of the conventions I go to. People want to share their experiences with cancer, and that's such a gift to me because it makes me feel less alone in my own experience of watching my dad go through that. And I think all of us know, who have been to any number of conventions, there is community and there is support, and there's such a relief anytime you're dealing with something when you can look at the people around you and hear somebody say, oh yeah, I've been through that too, even if it's not exactly the same experience. So I'm so grateful for people that share their experiences with me. And I'm so grateful that these conventions and the community, the fan community, is so generous. And so, it's amazing to me how much good all of you are capable of doing and how much good you actively do. So thank you for that, all of you. And that is my very long-winded answer to that question. But there's more. There's more, because I did not actively do a raffle at this convention, but I'm going to be doing one online, so you can buy a digital raffle ticket. And I have procured, I always do, or I tend to do Mandalorian-themed raffles, but this is a supernatural raffle. And I have an angel blade that is going to be signed by all the supernatural actors that were here today, and probably some other goodies. And I will be raffling that off. So stay tuned to my Instagram, and then you'll be able to buy a digital ticket on my website. So that is my even longer-winded answer to that question.
Thanks.
Thank you, Victoria. You are looking sharp.
Thank you.
I like it.
So much of acting comes from being able to convey your emotion through expression. How hard is it being in The Mandalorian where your face will never be seen? And was it hard for you to take a role where it's hard to get recognition?
I found out when I was auditioning for the role that they were careful to say that the character's face would not be seen, and I didn't care. I mean, it's an interesting thing because I love it for the character, and I hope she never shows her face. But it is a weird thing. I'm sure it would help me more in my career if people could see my face, because it's bizarre to me. It's all just acting, but I do feel like some people look at that role and they go, "Oh, that's one thing. That's great that you can do that," but they don't like equate it to acting with your whole being. To me, it's just a person who has a limited means of expressing herself. And I think that no matter whether your face is covered, whether you have some sort of physical impairment, or, you know, even emotional things like shyness, or if somebody has a lot of fear, or if somebody like can't regulate their emotions, like all of these things can be obstacles to expressing yourself the way that you want to express yourself. I mean, I feel those things day to day. There's so many times when I'm like, oh, I'm feeling this way, and I wish that I could let it out somehow. And depending on who I'm talking to, or depending on what context I'm in, it can be very challenging. So I just primarily I looked at this this obstacle that the armorer has of not showing her face as just, okay, this is one way where she can't express herself. So how does she compensate? Because I think that's also true for everyone. If something feels blocked off to us, we compensate in another way. And at first it was a little bit technical because I did need to take into account what translated, you know, so me feeling something, I then needed to communicate with our directors and with the other actors and find out, okay, what plays and what doesn't. And I had done mask work on stage before, but that's a different thing because when you're on stage, you know, all of you can see all of me the whole time I'm up here. But when you're acting for the camera, you don't know when the camera's tight on you. You don't know when it's on somebody else entirely. And so that required a lot of communication with our directors and with our crew to find out like what played. And I loved it. I love having that kind of challenge. And now I don't think of it as technically. It just feels like that's her. And it did naturally, both because I just think because of the type of person she is and the type of leader she is someone who's very calm and very patient. She moves with specificity and with deliberateness. And so all of those things, I think it makes her, it can make her even more enigmatic sometimes. But I also think that that's very appropriate for her because she's somebody who she wants you to figure it out for yourself. You know, she's the type of teacher who kind of guides you to a certain area, but she doesn't tell you exactly what you need to do. You need to find it yourself. Yeah, so now I don't really have to think as technically about her. I think more about the way that she wants to carry her message to people, and it feels a lot more, I just don't have to think about it as much. Yeah.
And real briefly, will you and your character be in the Mandalorian movie?
That is a very good question. Thank you.
Hello. So
Hi.
on that same topic with the armor from Mandalorian, just wanted to start by saying, love your character. One of my
Thank
favorite
you.
new characters as of late.
Thank you.
But something that's always really struck me about the armor is her phenomenal armor design. How much input were you able to give on that design, and what do you think of the overall product?
I mean, she looks real good, right? Everyone's jealous of her armor. And she should look good because she's the one that makes it all. So I did not have any input on how it looked at the beginning. That was entirely their concept. But oh my gosh, it took my breath away when I first saw it. Because you guys, I knew like nothing about what I was getting into because they're so secretive. And like on the hierarchy of importance of like actors and stuff, I was nobody compared to a lot of the people that were joining this project. I just got in there through, again, a regular old audition. Like, nobody called me up and asked me to be a part of it. And so I like, had to drive way out to the valley in Los Angeles and go to, it's called Legacy Effects, and it's a costume building and prop building studio. And they started taking a cast of my torso, and they're doing all this stuff and talking about it as if I knew what it looked like. And then finally somebody said, "Oh, you haven't seen it. Do you want to see a sketch?" And I said, "Yes, please." And when I saw it, it just, I mean, it instantly gave me such a visceral feeling about who she was and what a warrior she is. So that was entirely them. However, I got to have some input, thankfully, on some of the more practical aspects of it because for instance, my gloves that I had season 1, John called them my oven mitts because they were so big and cumbersome. And I'm supposed to be this very skilled artisan, and I couldn't pick things up. Like, it was very clumsy, and I couldn't, and then also you can't see, so I couldn't tell if I was like touching things or not. So when I came back for the Book of Boba Fett, I asked them, I was like, "Do you think maybe we could like tinker with the gloves a little bit?" And it was so gorgeous, I was like afraid to ask for anything. But so then they kind of went to the opposite end of the spectrum, and they found these gloves that were like fashion gloves and had no grip whatsoever. So then, like, if I picked up anything heavy, like one of the versions of the hammer that I have is about 20 pounds, and it just kept sliding through my fingers. So then, like, we would have to tape things to my my gloves so that I could hold on to props. So that was some input that I had. But there was some other aspect that mostly it just fit better when I came back for the Book of Boba Fett in season 3, which I appreciated. But also, yeah, it's so funny how I so respect the work that everybody does, and everyone is so talented that even things like that, I was like, only if it's okay, could you make it fit a little better? And they were entirely accommodating and lovely about it. And I love the whole thing she's got going on. And I mean, Mando is jealous of my helmet. I sometimes question the practicality of someone who works with fire all the time wearing fur. But I also like that because I feel like either she's so confident about her skill set that she doesn't think she's going to catch fire, or it's some non-flammable space creature that she's killed to make her cape, cape. Especially because now she wears a jetpack. So I don't know what's going on there, but there's a lot of laws in space that don't seem to apply to our natural world. So it all works out somehow.
I guess you could say, this is the way.
You could say that. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. So I got to see you yesterday, right after your panel, and I asked you about Castlevania. It's one of my favorite series.
Thank
and I
you.
wanted to ask you what one of your favorite scenes was from the animated series.
Oh, man. Man, I did a lot of like screaming and crying. And who's seen Castlevania? Okay. Well, if you haven't seen it, I don't care if I'm giving away spoilers. So my character, I'm married to Dracula. But it's a real sweet love story, which I love about the show because it's such a dark show, as Dracula stories often are. But it sets up this love story between Vlad and Lisa, my character, in such a sweet, gentle way. And so you can understand why she gets burned at the stake. You can understand why he would be a little angry about that and a little sad and maybe want revenge. So I did a lot of screaming because I did get burned at the stake. But I think my favorite scene might be the very first one because you have all these images as the show opens up of this like dark, foreboding terrain. and then she knocks on the door of this huge dark castle, and then the scene that happens is almost like a rom-com. Like, she's joking with him, and like she's not putting up with any of his BS, and basically says like, you need to have some manners when you have a guest, and what's wrong with you? Why are you so like socially awkward? And she opens him up a little bit, and you see this beautiful connection. And I just think it's so smart on the part of the writers of the show to introduce his character that way, so that you have some sympathy when he then goes on a massive killing spree, which we don't condone, but we sort of understand. So I think that would be it, the way it's set up. But then I also, because I die at the stake early on and I come back in flashbacks, I was shocked when they called me to come back for the last season, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I love that last scene that we got to do, it gives you hope, you know? So basically that, I wasn't in a whole lot of it, so I feel like that's all my scenes. But yeah.
No, I'm
Thank
glad.
you for
It
that
was one of my
question.
favorite dynamics to see on screen, so it was really cool to see.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi again.
Hi. I don't know. Okay, sorry.
You're good.
So my question is there a production, show, role, or project you were in that could be perceived as underrated or less popular you wish more people could appreciate? And
Oh.
if so, is there something you'd recommend from yourself, a friend, or a fellow colleague you think deserves more spotlight, and why?
Oh my gosh, there's so many people who I think deserve more spotlight. I mean, this is such a weird business, you guys. I'm so fortunate just to like have a steady career. And steady doesn't even mean like I'm always working by any means. It just means like, fortunately, I can support myself and my family with it. And I have worked fairly consistently. So I feel like there's that level of just like getting work, which is fantastic. And then it's really a crapshoot as to what you do that's going to be recognized. I mean, I always tell people I feel like ridiculously fortunate to get to come and do these Comic-Cons, because there's so many actors who work so hard and do incredible work, and they might just happen to be on shows that don't have a big fandom, you know? And why something catches on with people is like a mystery to me until it happens. And then I can go, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. But there's so many projects I've been a part of that I thought were wonderful and just didn't do well. I was in 2 shows in New York, one on Broadway, one off Broadway, that were on worst of the year lists. And both of them had Pulitzer Prize winners involved in the writing. So it just goes to show like you can achieve spectacular things and fail spectacularly, and it's all sort of in the same realm. I think that either one is better than just being mediocre and kind of like middle of the road. But if I had to say something that I wish had gotten more recognition, there was a show that I did called Monday Mornings that was one of my favorite experiences. It was the first time I was a series regular on a show, and it was a fantastic cast. It had Jamie Bamber from Battlestar and Bill Irwin, who was like one of my just idols growing up. And Alfred Molina and Ving Rhames and Sarayu Blue, and it was a medical drama that David E. Kelley and Sanjay Gupta wrote together. But we were on TNT, and it was at a time when they were going through some administrative executive changes, and it just didn't really get advertised that well. And it was called Monday Mornings, which is sort of a lame title, because people were like, "Well, first of all, I don't like Mondays. Second of all, like, is this a talk show?" Which it was not. And so it just didn't really take off. And I had a fantastic time doing it. And I have every confidence that everyone was doing good work. But it just didn't hit. And that happens. And so, like, even when we were shooting The Mandalorian, it wasn't called The Mandalorian yet when I was involved. Because I shot all my stuff early on. It hadn't been announced or anything. So I didn't know that it was going to be a big deal. But I knew that there were really talented people involved with it. And I could tell when we were shooting that we were doing something good. So that was something where I was like, okay, this is good. But I had no idea if it was going to catch on or not. And then it seems like it did okay. So, yeah, I'm grateful to have had both experiences, because I know that at the end of the day, all I can control is the effort that I put into something and the care that I give, my preparation, the way that I show up to set, the way that I try to be of service to the story and to my fellow actors. And then that is what determines how satisfied I am with it, because if I base it on like how well it does once it gets out there, I will be hopeless, because that can change moment to moment, you know? So yeah, I feel so lucky to have had so many wonderful experiences. And then on top of like just appreciating the experiences for myself, I'm ridiculously blessed to be part of things that have such support from all of you. So thank you for that, because that really means a lot. And thank you for that very thoughtful question. Hi.
Hi. So my question is, when going from like acting in front of like a camera to voice acting, what was like the hardest part of going from one or the other? And did you learn any skills that you could apply to like both forms of acting?
Oh, I like that question. Well, one of the things I love about voice acting is that it doesn't matter what I do with my body. Like you can be in the booth and you just like whatever position you need to be in to sort of feel like you're getting into the character or whatever, like you can do it. And there's something that is still, because I started acting on stage where it just feels like you have more freedom, because you're not worried about a camera following you, you're not worried about like blocking another actor, you're not worried about the eye line. You just have more freedom. And there's something, who has ever done anything for a camera? Like even just made a video with friends or something. It's weird, right? You suddenly have this like level of self-consciousness that you don't always in day-to-day life. And so it's still like whenever I'm prepping for something that I'm shooting, I have to go through so much rehearsal on my own just to like relax and not feel hindered by my self-consciousness, or by worrying about like, because one of the weird things about acting on a set is that if you're not, even if you are a regular on a show, oftentimes you won't see the world that you're shooting the scene in until like you get there and it's time to shoot. And all of a sudden you're supposed to exist in this world as if you've been there all along. Like I've had times when I'm shooting in a kitchen that's supposed to have been my kitchen for 20 years. And so you would know where everything is. You don't have to think about it. But then you as the actor, you're just getting there and you don't know where anything is. And so there's a level of your concentration that goes to that. So one of the most fun things to me about just voice acting is that you're in a booth and it doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about your physicality at all. However, in my experience, and it didn't used to be this way with voiceover, but these days more and more, you're in a booth by yourself. You don't have the other actors. When I was recording my first few episodes of Castlevania, I was not getting to play opposite any of the actors that I had these scenes with, which is weird, because you're sort of having to predict what they might do, assume what they might do. And fortunately for me, I knew Graham McTavish, who plays Dracula, because we'd worked together before. And so I could sort of think about like some of his personality, what I thought he might put into the character, and that was helpful for my own inspiration. But I don't love voice acting as much because I like being with people. I feel like I'm better when I'm with other people because I'm not thinking so much about like, okay, what do I need to do? What can I bring to this? I just naturally get inspired by interacting with them. And that to me feels a lot more spontaneous and fun. So I prefer that. But then I also really appreciate that I don't have to worry about like what to do with my hands. Like when I'm in a voiceover booth, I just don't have to think about it as much. So it's different challenges and different things that are enjoyable. Thank you. Hello.
Hi. I wanted to ask, how'd you come up with like the voice and the persona for the armor? Like what got you into the character?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't know if there was more to the question. How did I come up with it? Well, I always start with whatever description they give me for an audition, which is often very little. And all they said about her was that she was a Zen-like leader of a group of people in hiding. And then I had a couple of scenes with like no context. It didn't say like who these people were. I didn't know they were Mandalorians. It didn't say like what planet she lived on. It did say she didn't use her, or you couldn't see her face. So I didn't like put a paper bag over my head or anything, but I did think like, okay, this is probably somebody who is more expressive with her body. However, because she is Zen-like, she's probably not doing too much with her body. So I did try to focus more on, I had more awareness of my entire being, and tried not to use my face quite as much. But I sort of felt intuitively that she might move more slowly than I move. She would probably be more calm and patient than I am. Because I have a lot of energy, and I'm like always fidgeting, and I use my hands a lot, and I use my face a lot. So I really just had to like simmer down. And then a word that really came to mind was that she must have a lot of trust if she feels like she can be understood with what while still using so little to communicate. So those came into play, and then it was the casting director that suggested that I do a British dialect, mostly just because they were seeing a lot of British actors. And I have played many, many Brits, mostly on stage. So that was one that I was able to pull out pretty easily. And oh, I thought someone was talking to us. It was, I say it's sort of British-ish because I tried not to make it too specific to any, specific dialect within the British area. So yeah, all those things came into play. And then when I got the part, we wound up keeping the dialect just because it sort of set her apart from everybody else. Honestly, I think that like some of the things that contributed to her moving the way she does are because she is slower and she's, very deliberate. And part of that is just because, I could not see anything. I was worried about running into stuff. And so I was trying to be very careful. And then that seemed to work for her. That gave me patience. So yeah, it's one of the things I love about acting is that there are certain deliberate choices that you make, and then there are sort of happy accidents that come into play, and you go, oh, well, I guess that works. And you never know what's going to strike your inspiration and what will catch on like that. So I love getting to play characters that feel far from me in terms of how they express themselves. And it always calms me to inhabit her space because she is a lot calmer and more patient than I am. So I feel like it's good for me. I feel like I get to meditate a little bit when I'm existing as her.
And did you record your lines in the suit, or did they do it separate?
Yeah, we had a microphone in the helmet.
Okay.
So we record everything while we're shooting it. We play the scenes while we're shooting. But then, because you can't see my mouth move, they can change the lines as much as they want. So we do a lot of rewrites that make it into the final playing of the scene. And that's really fun to me because because we shoot out of order, sometimes during the course of shooting a season, they'll realize, oh, actually, if we reveal this information this way, or if this character had this reaction, this would set up this other episode better. And it's really easy to do that when you don't see a character's lips moving. So it's fun to be a part of that and to discuss some of those ideas with John and Dave. And then ultimately, I don't usually know what's going to make it into the final episode till I watch it. So like all of season 3, I was doing a convention basically every weekend that a new episode aired. And I had to make sure that I watched it before I went to the convention so that I wouldn't like reveal something that wasn't supposed to be revealed, or so that I knew like what version had made it into the episode. So that was a very interesting time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So you've worked on many shows like Supernatural, The Mandalorian, and you said you did a lot of stuff on Broadway. Do you have any like props you stolen? Those are my favorite questions to
Why
ask.
does everybody want to ask about stealing props?
Because I know all the actors and stuff do it. So do you have
First
any
of all,
good
all
ones?
the actors do not do it. I've never stolen. Have I stolen anything? There's nothing that I have to like keep secret. I'll say that.
What about like things you were given to like keep as like a memento for a part you played?
No, first of all, I would never. If I tried to steal something from Disney, I would probably get shot down by a drone.
Probably.
Also, I feel like, people ask me, because I do sometimes walk around in my armor at conventions, and people ask if that's the armor from the show, and it is not. It's one that a fan, actually, who usually attends this convention, made. Because first of all, there's no way I could get away with stealing that costume. But also, like, I want to be able to wear it on the show again, so I don't want it to go missing. I'm, like, hoping, every time that I'll have reason to wear it again. But I have lots of things from plays that I've done. And I have, from The Mandalorian, I have, like, a little piece of the planet Mandalore. And I have this crusty old burnt-up spear that was the spear that we actually did burn when I melted down the Beskar spear to make Grogu's chainmail. And my husband's always like, why do we have that? It's disgusting. But it's special to me. And what do I have from Supernatural? I feel like I must have something. Well, I bought some wardrobe pieces that Amara got to wear in season 15 because she had some great fashion in season 15. So I have some of that stuff. I don't have any people that I've stolen from sets. I think that's about it.
Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Well, I have a question for you. What would you steal from Supernatural? I see your Supernatural shirt, so you're...
I
what
just
do you
recently
want?
got one of the Demon Blade replicas.
Oh, yeah.
And having like the actual one that they used on set would be so cool.
Yeah.
I love the Demon Blade.
That's pretty rad, though, that you got one.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, people love to ask questions about stealing. Also, like, why, if it was something really important, why would I admit it in a panel full of people where I could get found out?
That's true.
So maybe I have stuff that you just don't know about.
Hi. I just recently got cast in a show that's in development.
Oh, cool.
And
Congrats.
it's my first project. So I guess my question would be, like, what kind of advice would you offer for someone just starting out?
It's something that's going to be on camera or on stage or
A TV series.
a TV show. I mean, I think with any art or creative thing, doing it as much as possible is so important so that it becomes second nature. Because I think it's funny. I think a lot of people sort of assume that creativity is this sudden inspiration, and that when somebody does make an impression, either with their acting, with their music, with their drawing, a lot of the times I think people assume, like, oh, they're just a genius and they just had that idea and it just materialized. But more often than not, I think that kind of special inspiration that is sort of genius, it only comes after a lot of repetition and you get yourself to this place where you are so relaxed and you're not thinking about it too much, and you are in the creative habit so that the inspiration can come out. And I think especially because of all the things I was just saying about, like, acting on camera, where suddenly you're like, how do I move? What do I do with my hands? Doing that as much as possible is important. So I think there's one aspect of it that's technical, where, like, as much as you can just film yourself and watch yourself and see, like, okay, is that what I thought I was doing? Am I communicating the way I thought I was? So that you're not thinking about it when you're shooting it. I think that's really helpful. And then I think the other side of it, the creative side, is, like, just give yourself as much as possible to trigger your imagination. So, I like to start building a character's life with some sort of backstory. I don't tend to go, like, really deep into, like, the specifics of well, no, that's not true. It differs from character to character. Sometimes it's enough for me just to know kind of the world that they maybe grew up in and what kind of things influence them to determine, like, how they express themselves, what they're afraid of, what they're really, like, striving for. I like to have all of those things in my mind so that then when I have the actual script and I have this very specific scene that's happening in this specific time, I know, like, how that person's life is influencing how they're behaving in this moment. And I do, break down a script and I analyze the scenes and say, like, okay, like, why is this happening now? And, what does this person want in this scene? So it's kind of like a combination of zooming in and zooming out. But I think overall, it's just like give yourself as much as possible so that you're not, because I think the worst thing is when you start to perform, and this could be whether you're a musician, whether you're an actor, whether you're just speaking in public. The worst thing is if you get there and you have so little in your mind to draw from that you're just focused on what do I look like and, how do I sound and how do people see me? Because then you just get locked up. So just give yourself lots of delicious stuff to play with, I think.
Thank
And
you.
have fun.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hello.
Hi, Emily. So, from both Supernatural and The Mandalorian, what was the prop you had the most fun with?
Oh, what was the prop I had the most fun with? Oh, golly. Okay. What props did I have in Supernatural? I don't feel like I had much. Metatron was my prop. I mean, I
That
did
man
have
was a
fun
tool.
killing him. Yeah. Oh, Curtis is such a lovely person, too. I don't think I had many props to choose from for Supernatural. I had so much fun, though. I was thinking this because of the replica of Baby that's here. I remember the day that we had to shoot the scene where basically they were trying to run me over with Baby, and I was just standing there like, I think my arm was out. I don't know. Maybe I was just standing there and like not afraid at all, and I stopped it. And it was nerve-wracking because they had the car set up so that it was actually like in full gear, and Jared like had the pedal to the metal, but it was held in place by some instrument. And I was like, what if the thing just breaks? Like, how long do I have to jump out of the way? So that was simultaneously thrilling and terrifying. On The Mandalorian, I got to do so much good stuff with my hammer, although sometimes I hated my hammer on days that I had to hammer a lot, and it got really tiring. I don't know if you could count Grogu as a prop, but I had a lot of fun with him. What other props did I have on The Mandalorian? Anyone have any? Everyone's like Sunday morning con brain. I liked my jetpack. I thought that was rad. I think my hammer, because you guys, my hammer was so useful. Like, I made some very like intricate projects with it in the forge, and then I beat up some pirates and stormtroopers. And I love that she found so much use out of such a simple tool.
The universal tool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, those are great boots.
Thank you. I have a wardrobe question for you.
Oh, okay. Oh, appropriate.
What was your favorite wardrobe piece, and do you have any wardrobe inspiration from a character that has sprinkled into your personal style?
Yes, definitely Amara, because there was this pink velvet suit that I wore season 15 that I now own, and I get so many compliments on it. What was my favorite, though? Oh, geez. It depends on whether we're asking for comfort or for just coolness factor, because my armor is awesome. But okay, here's something totally different. I did an episode of a show called Flight of the Conchords a long time ago. It's a really fun show if you guys haven't seen it. And I was a mermaid in one episode. So I had this full-on like mermaid tail that was slightly terrifying because there was one other woman who was a mermaid with me, and we like had to, shimmy into the tail, and then we couldn't move. So we had to like be picked up and carried everywhere. And there was a scene that we were shooting where we were next to a pool. And I kept thinking, like, what if I fall in? Can I actually swim? Probably not, because I've never tried with a mermaid tail. And will anyone be able to rescue me in time? Which, of course, they probably would. But it was just, the things that you don't expect to have to contend with are very interesting. I also remember in that same scene, this happens on TV a lot. There was supposed to be this whole sequence, because it was like a music video dream sequence. And there was supposed to be these synchronized swimmers who were doing this whole routine. But when the casting call went out, they did not ask for synchronized swimmers. They just wanted swimmers. So then we had this whole group of perhaps very talented normal swimmers that showed up, who didn't know how to synchronize swim. And that whole thing had to be scrapped and then like reworked. Things are so much less organized than you might expect. And then the whole time, you know, I'm there in my mermaid tail wondering if I'm going to die, which I didn't. Happy to report. But that one was one of the most fun for sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think this is perfect timing. We have
Oh.
time for one more question.
Oh my gosh,
so-
you guys are so good.
Yeah, what pros?
Woo!
I've been getting like, anyway.
Are you always the last question?
Yes. No. I'm
Oh.
not, they call it usually before I get there.
Well, congratulations.
So yesterday you were saying how much Jensen seems to always be really perfect. Is there any embarrassing stories that he wouldn't like you to tell us?
I wish I had one.
Oh God!
Oh
So
my
disappointing.
gosh.
Come on, he can't be that perfect.
There's got to be something, right?
Right?
No.
Like even just him farting in Jared's face?
I mean, I'm sure he did. I never witnessed it.
Like anything?
I got nothing. I never. Although people are always asking like, what kind of pranks did they play on you? I never got pranked, and I like to think that it's because I was so intimidating. That's just what we're gonna go with. No, but what I. Sorry to get like earnest and serious when you want a funny story. But one of the things that I genuinely appreciated so much about him, because I adore Jared, but I didn't really have many scenes with him. And the stuff that I had with Jensen it was so delightful because it was so different from everything else that Amara was doing. Like I felt like I constantly had a wind machine on me, and I was smiting people, and there was blood, and there was, I was just really angry. And then we got to have these very subdued, intimate, mysterious moments. And there were so many of those moments between the two of them sprinkled throughout that season. And I love that it wasn't specific really about like what this connection was. I'm really glad that it didn't go somewhere overtly romantic, partly because I think people would have hated me. But also, it was just more interesting that it was so weird. And it was like, what is going on? And because of that, he and I like really wanted to be very careful and specific about what was happening at any given moment between the two of them. And I so appreciate it because he and Jared, we're in almost every scene of every episode, but he is an actor who cares so much about every moment for his character and for the other actors around him that he wanted to take the time to talk about this. And I remember especially towards the end of the season, there were a few scenes that we were like, oh, this doesn't feel quite right. And we would talk about it and talk about how maybe it could be different. And then we would take that to the writers and they responded positively. So just the fact that he wanted to take that time meant a lot to me. And it just made it so much more enjoyable. But I don't think I have anything meaty to give you. I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm failing you on our last question.
That's okay. Thank you, though.
One time he pooped his pants. Not really. No. Well, thank you all of you for taking time out of your Sunday to come hang out with me.
Yes,
You are all so
absolutely.
delightful, and I appreciate you so much.
We are extremely lucky that we've got to have Emily now twice.
Yeah.
So you've earned friend of the con status,
Yeah.
And
who was here 3 years ago? All right, a few of you. We'll do it again in 3 years.
So hopefully,
or less.
we'll be able to do it again. Let's give her one more hand, please, for Emily
Thank
Swallow.
you. Hey, can we take a big group photo? Do you guys ever do this at panels at other conventions? Everybody get in the middle and we'll take a photo?
Where you at, Dick? Get up here. He's trying to get me. Yeah. Put you up in this chair.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.